Who are the best Fantasy EFL differentials? The point scoring system for Fantasy EFL is slightly different from normal FPL, so it's important to take advantage of those differences to maximise points each week. So today I'm going to be taking you through some defenders and midfielders that I think could really capitalise on the point scoring system, and that maybe other people haven't thought about, and so maybe good differentials. I'm a little bit ill at the minute, so apologies if you can hear that in my voice, but let's get straight into it. So defenders in Fantasy EFL not only get points for clean sheets and attacking returns, but also +1 for every 3 clearances, every 2 blocks and every 2 successful tackles. First up we've got Shay at 3.7% ownership, who was playing for Shrewsbury last season and made 320 clearances at an average of 7.4 per 90. Chesterfield are one of the favourites to win League 2, and they actually beat Derby 4-0 in a pre-season game, which is looking good. His tackles won percentage is as high as 79.6%, so he could gain even more points from every 2 successful tackles. They've got good clean sheet potential, and he's a 90-minute man. He scored 4 goals last season with an XG of 0.13 per 90, but I expect that to increase this season now he's dropping down a league. He took 41 shots last season with 14 on target, which proves his attacking potential, so I think he's a great pick for game week 1 against Swindon on Friday night. Next up is OConnor, at only 0.1% ownership, from Harrogate, who played Bromley first game of the season. O'Connor made 280 clearances at 6.5 per 90 last season, and also 1.4 blocks per 90, which was second in the entirety of League 2. So already, if he gets close to those numbers, you're looking at an extra 2 or 3 points every 90, so combining that with the clean sheet potential, he's looking like a really nice pick for game week 1. His attacking potential is definitely lower than Dunkley, but he also managed to score 5 goals and 1 assist across last season. Finally, from the defenders, we've got Michal Helik from Huddersfield, who has obviously just been relegated from the Championship, but he was a standout performer in extremely leaky defence. He made 224 clearances at an average of 5.6 per 90. The defence should be stronger this season for Huddersfield, so a higher clean sheet potential, but they still concede a lot of chances, so there's high potential for more clearances too. His attacking threat is very strong for a defender, especially from set pieces, which was the way Huddersfield scored most of their goals last season. Helik scored 9 goals last season and was Huddersfield's top scorer. His expected goals was as high as 0.15 per 90, and he had 26 shots, which may seem lower than the other players we've looked at, but with 17 of them on target, that's a crazy high percentage of shots on target for a defender, so definitely someone to think about for our Fantasy EFL teams. Midfielders get +2 points for every interception, which is massive, and then also +1 for every 2 key passes and every 2 shots on target. I think midfielders are going to end up being the most important decision each week with this point system. Obviously players like Sammy Smodics are going to gain a lot of points from this, but he's already at 57.2% ownership at the time of recording, so I don't think I need to tell you how important he could be if he stays at Blackburn. But I do think it's important to get a balance of those kind of players that are really popular and some that are just like well thought out picks, so let's have a look at some here. First up is Brendan Sarpong Wedu. I've probably butchered that name, but anyway. He was at Fleetwood last season and can actually play as a defender, but Fantasy EFL have put him as a midfielder. He's only at 0.1% ownership, and he was a nailed starter for Fleetwood last season with an average of 2.2 successful tackles per 90 across the season. He also managed 65 interceptions over last season, and although Fleetwood got relegated, they should be much stronger this season. He also got 3 goals and 2 assists. Fleetwood played Grimsby at home first game of the season, and I expect Grimsby to be fighting from relegation for most of the season, so it could be a fixture to capitalise on. Next up is Jack Nolan at 0.5% ownership, who was playing at Accrington Stanley last season and scored 17 goals and got 8 assists. He's now moved to Gillingham, so he'll be playing in a better side, who should be pushing for at least playoffs, if not higher this season. He has an expected goals per 90 of 0.34, and basically a shot on target every game with 0.98 per 90, with a 62% shot accuracy. His stats look really good, and I believe he can play on either wing, so to be classified as a midfielder on the game means we could actually get some really good points from him. He had 615 successful passes, created 90 chances, and also had 90 successful crosses. The only downside is that he only managed 12 interceptions, as in the position he plays in those scenarios are less likely, and Gillingham also play Carlisle, who I expect to be quite strong this season too. So there are some pros and cons with him, but definitely someone to think about. Lastly, I just wanted to mention Ahan at just 0.4% ownership from Lincoln, who from the eye test, it looks a really, really good player. I know some bigger teams in the league were already looking at signing him this transfer window, and Lincoln fans would have seen him as a big loss, so if he stays, and it looks like he will, then with Lincoln's first game against Burton he could be a really good choice. His attacking threat is not particularly high as he doesn't take many shots, although he did manage 2 goals and 4 assists last season. He also made 1,452 successful passes. The appeal of him is more that he may be Lincoln's go-to man to make a difference this season, and they only just missed out on playoffs last season, so they won't want to miss out again. He made 68 interceptions last season, so with every one being plus 2 points, he could be a really good differential. So there we are. I hope you found this video helpful and enjoyed it. I have tried to go for players that you may not already know or haven't thought about, rather than just picking the best championship players. I do have another video coming out later this week where I go through my full team selection for Game Week 1, so keep an eye out for that. If you did enjoy, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, it really does help me out, and I'll see you in the next one.